Saraswati Vyasam Tado Jayamudire Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavadir Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavadineshtu Mogam Karoti Vachalam Bhagum Nageti Niyat Kripadam Hamande Shri Guru Dina Dharinam Paramananda Madhava Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhudale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nidinamne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prasharini Vishesha Shunivadi Ashyati Deshatamari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto 22nd chapter 30th sloka. Ritu Maharaj meeting the four Kumaras. Indriyair Vishayakshatrer Akshiptam Dhyayatham Manaha Chetanam Harate Buddhe Sambastoyam Ivahratat. Okay, you can all chant after me. Indriyair Vishayakrishte Akshiptam Dhyayatham Manaha Chetanam Harate Buddhe Bastoyam Ivahradat. Whenever there is, you can see here some dash above the letter, you should say a, hyaya, tam. So it's like radat. So when there is a dash above the a, it's like a. And then when there's a dot below h, it's ha, manaha, buddheha. Okay. Synonyms: indriya, by the senses. Vishaya, the sense objects. Akrishte, being attracted. Akshiptam, agitated. Hyayatam, always thinking of. Manaha, mind. Chetanam, consciousness. Harate, become lost. Buddhehe, of intelligence. Tambaha, big straws. Toyam, water. Iva, like. Radhat, from the lake. Translation: when one's mind and senses are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continuously thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost, like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by the big grass straws on the bank. Hare Krishna Maniji Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this verse, it is very nicely explained how our original Krishna consciousness becomes polluted and we gradually become almost completely forgetful of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. In the previous verse, it is recommended that we should always keep in touch with the devotional service of the Lord so that the blazing fire of devotional service can gradually burn into ashes material desires, and we can become liberated from the repetition of birth and death. This is also how we can indirectly keep our staunch faith in the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the mind is allowed to think of sense gratification continuously, it becomes the cause of our material bondage. If our mind is simply filled with sense gratification, even though we want Krishna consciousness, by continuous practice, we cannot forget the subject matter of sense gratification. If one takes up the sannyasa order of life but is not able to control the mind, he will think of objects of sense gratification, namely family, society, expensive house, etc. Even though he goes to the Himalayas or the forest, his mind will continue thinking of the objects of sense gratification. In this way, gradually, one's intelligence will be affected. When intelligence is effective, one loses his original taste for Krishna consciousness. The example given here is very appropriate. If a big lake is covered all around by a long kusha grass, just like columns, the water dry up. Similarly, when the big columns of material desire increases, the clear water of consciousness is dried up. Therefore, these columns of kusha grass should be cut or thrown away from the very beginning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed that if from the very beginning we do not take care of unwanted grass in the paddy fields, the fertilizing agents or water will be used by them and the paddy plants will dry up. The material desire for sense enjoyment is the cause of our fall down in this material world, and thus we suffer the threefold miseries and continuous birth, death, old age, and disease. However, if we turn our desire toward the transcendental loving service of the Lord, our desires become purified. We cannot kill desires. We have to purify them of different designation. If we constantly think of being a member of a particular nation, society, or family and continuously think about them, we become very strongly entangled in the conditioned life of birth and death. But if our desires are applied to the service of the Lord, they become purified, and thus we become immediately free from material contamination. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Indriya Vishaya Krishnaye Akshiptam Dhyayata Manaha Chetanam Bharate Buddhe Sampastoyam Ivahrata. Translation: when one's mind and senses are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, and the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continuously thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost. Like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by the big grass straws on its bank. Thank you, Krishna. So what happens here is, it's a very nice sloka which says that when we get attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, then the mind becomes agitated, right? Because you keep on thinking about the object and then you don't get it. Unsatisfied lust is the cause of anger. Yeah, and then we have the 8 steps of fall down. So what are the 8 steps of fall down? Described in the 2nd chapter. What happens? You can, yes, Sureka Mataji.
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसा संगस्तेषु उपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधो विजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिर्भंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति.
Yes, very nice. So what is the first step? Contemplation of objects, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, after that?
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसा संगस्तेषु उपजायते. So you get attached to it.
Yeah, contemplation of which attachment, and then there is lust. Then
संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधो विजायते. After lust, anger comes.
Anger, and then anger cause
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः, delusion.
Bewilderment, and then
सम्मोहः स्मृतिविभ्रमः, loss of memory.
Yeah, intelligence. Yes, mother. So intelligence is lost, and finally there is fall down. So this is what in Bhagavad Gita, the 2nd chapter, 62nd sloka says: Dhyayato vishaya pumsa sanga tesho vijayate sanga sanjayate kama kama krodho vijayate. So first is contemplating of object of the senses, and then there is attachment, from attachment lust, and from lust anger arises. And later on, the next sloka also explain what happens. Krodha bhavati sammoha sammoha smriti vibhra smriti vamsha buddhinasha buddhanasha pranashyati. So from anger there is delusion and bewilderment of memory, and when memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost, right? So here Prabhupada explains like what happens when you contemplate the objects, or you keep thinking about the object, there is attachment. So sense objects also, the material attachment sense of, you keep thinking about, oh, enjoying the senses, oh, I have to go here, I have to go there. There's so much to, some new restaurant have opened in the town. So how many of you, be very sincere before coming to Krishna consciousness, if any new restaurant opened in your town, you have to go there and taste something. How many of you had that desire? How many have done that before coming to Krishna consciousness? Okay, so you can be like, you can just raise your digital hand. New restaurant opens and you have to go there and have something. So Dinesh Prabhu says, yes, Prakash Payal Prabhu. You're all very sincere souls. Others, I don't know, maybe they're pure devotees. Okay, so what happens? This is what. So we keep thinking about how to satisfy our senses, and then there is attachment. So here in this sloka also, Prabhupada says that when you keep thinking about the sense enjoyment, and then the mind becomes agitated, and continuously thinking of sense objects, our real consciousness become lost. No, we just go to satisfy our senses. We don't think about Krishna at that time. We just want to satisfy our senses. So that's what here it is said. Prabhupada says, our original Krishna consciousness become polluted because when we keep thinking about sense objects. But we are all originally Krishna conscious, but it's getting polluted because we are thinking about sense objects. And here it is said that with the devotional service is such a way that it burns about, it's like a blazing fire. Okay, devotional service to the Lord is like a blazing fire of devotional service, can burn Okay, the blazing fire of devotional service can burn into ashes the material desires, and we can become liberated from birth and death. So the blazing fire of devotional service, that means the devotional service is compared to a fire. Like you have lot of dry grass, you put one matchstick, the whole thing just get crushed. So the material desires, if you have to crush the material desires, you have to take up the devotional service. Even Krishna advises Uddhava also in the Uddhava Gita, the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam also says, Yadakni Shushrudaram Shri Karoshi Karodi Etashim Smasat Tadamat Vishaya Bhaktir Udvaideva Krishna Sa Yadakni Shushrudaram Shri Karodi Edam Shibasmatat Tadamat Vishaya Bhaktir Udvaideva Krishna Sa. So Yada Agni, how Agni or the fire burns the wood to ashes. Similarly, Uddhava, my bhakti, that is mad vishya bhakti, if you do devotional service to Krishna, then it burns all our other desires. So here he's saying to Uddhava, just as a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, similarly, devotion to be completely burns to ashes, the sin committed by the devotees, the sin committed and also our material desires, everything gets crushed because the devotional service compared to a blazing fire. It's so powerful that even the material desires get crushed. Like normally we commit sins because we have a desire to do the sins, or the propensity to do the sins, to commit mistakes, to cheat others. That's already there in us. But just by atonement or prayaschitta, it won't help. The real prayaschitta is to take to Krishna consciousness so that the desire of committing the sin gets crushed. So that's why this devotional service is compared to Agni, okay, the fire. So it's very important. And also it is said, we cannot stop attachment. Prabhupada says here, right? We can't stop attachment. Attachment will be there. We cannot kill desires. We cannot be like desireless. Only a stone can be desireless, or something not living. So here we cannot kill desires. What we have to do is we have to purify our attachment. So whatever attachment or desire we have to turn our desire to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Then our desires become purified. Then right? So this is what we should do. We'll all have desires, but we can't. And also we have attachment. Now it is, can we live without attachment? No. Prabhupada explains once that if you have children, your attachment will be towards your children. If you don't have children, then your attachment will be at least towards the dogs and cats at home. Now, those who don't have children, it is said they might even keep a dog or cat at home, and their attachment is so much so that I've heard like a person in abroad, he have even written his properties for the dog, or all the will, all his, so much attached to the dog and or the cat. So Prabhupada, like, everyone has that attachment. If you don't have children, you get attached to someone else, something else. No, the attachment is natural. But then we should purify our attachment. So if we get attached to sense objects, then what will happen? If our attachment is to sense objects, what will happen?
Lust, Mataji.
No, after lust, what will happen? What is the outcome?
If we don't get it full, the desire was fulfilled, then we get
not satisfied. So at the time of death, even you have lot of material desires, then what will happen?
Fall down. Repeated births and deaths.
Come back.
Repeated birth, punarjanma, right? If at the time of death we are thinking about, oh, my daughter is not married, my son is not settled, I should have had a big car and this, and then again punarjanma, you take rebirth again to fulfill that desire. Again you live, again you have desire. So this is a cause, the material desires. You've seen the Urdhamola Madashagam, the material world is compared to an inverted banyan tree. So what is the root of it, or where does it stay? Desires. So material desires. So when we have that desires, we take rebirth again and again and again, right? So that's not the way we should be. So attached that we can even become a cockroach in that house. So once there was my friend who, Sundays we have this Sunday feast program in the temple. So even Sunday she started working. So much attached to money. Initially it's like that, no? It's so excited to earn a salary and all that initially when you're new to the job. So she started working overtime on Sundays also. It doesn't come to the temple. And then accidentally she heard a lecture by saying, Prabhupada says, if you keep working even overtime in the office and all that, so much attached to the office, next Janma, you're going to become a cockroach in the office. And she heard that and she's like, I don't want to become a cockroach in the office, and then came back to the temple, at least on Sundays. So that's not our real goal. And Prabhupada's like, you will have attachment, but you should divert your attachment. Instead of attachment to the sense objects, your attachment should be to the devotees and the Lord. Then what will happen? The doors of liberation will open. That's the sloka, 3rd canto, 25th chapter, 20th sloka says, Prasangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo viduhu savi eva sadhu krito moksha dwaram apavritam moksha dwaram. The gate of liberation, the door will open. Every learned man should know very well that attachment for material things is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But the same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees of Krishna, opens the door of liberation. So if you're attached to Prabhupada, you're attached to Krishna, then the doors of liberation open. Same attachment, Prabhupada's like the same attachment you apply to devotees, you apply to Krishna, then the doors of liberation open. It's a very nice purport you can read. Again, Kapila Devi advises Devahudi on this part, that attachment to material things is the greatest entanglement, because the soul keeps taking rebirth again and again and again. So much so you are attached to your house. There's a story also, no, that Narad Muni comes and calls a person, come back home, back to Godhead. And he's like, no, my son is not married, my daughter is not married. And then he stays again. And so many reasons he keeps saying. And then at the end, he becomes a dog in that house. And later on, again, he protects the house. And then later on, he becomes a snake. And even the children themselves will kill that snake. So much attached that you don't feel like leaving all these material possessions. But then what will happen? There is rebirth again and again and again. So attachment for material things is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. So we can't be living without attachment. There will be attachment, but the attachment should be towards Krishna. The same attachment should be applied to the self-realized devotees. Open the door of liberation. Moksha dwaram apavritam. It will open the door of liberation. So that's what we should do. And also attachment to sadhus. Sadhus means the devotees of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada, here it is said, the attachment for one thing is the cause of bondage in the conditioned life. And the same attachment, when applied to something else, open the door of liberation. So attachment cannot be killed. Prabhupada's like, you can't kill it. It simply has to be transferred. Right? So attachment for material things is material consciousness. Attachment for Krishna and his devotees are called Krishna consciousness. So when you have your attachment towards Krishna and Krishna devotees, then the door of liberation gets opened. So how do you develop that attachment? How do we develop that attachment to Krishna and his devotees? How do we do that?
By association.
Association, that's a very nice way. Huh?
Nishtha,
Devotional service.
Chanting Hare Krishna first. First chanting Hare Krishna, hearing lecture, Prabhupada lectures, reading daily Bhagavatam, so that you'll.
For all this to happen, association is very important. Yeah, if you associate with devotees, then definitely that attachment towards devotee will come. So you have to get association from devotees, right? More than online association, I feel offline association is very, very important. Very important. Online, you don't feel that thing, but then offline, you see devotees, how they chant. You sit in a group of devotees and chant, or you in a festival, you are with the devotees. You feel like that vibration. You feel that. You also get influenced by them. And you feel like, oh, you should also be like one of them. So Prabhupada's like, that's the first symptom. You feel like, oh, I should also become like one of the devotees. But we should not be envious of the devotees. Oh, that devotee knows more slokas than me, or this devotee is so advanced than me. We both start Krishna consciousness together, but she knows better than me. No, that enviousness should not be there. Then Krishna doesn't like it. We should be thinking that I am not able to serve Krishna as she is doing. That Mataji is serving Krishna so much, by us, the Prabhu is doing so much service, or so much into devotional service, so much reading Prabhupada's book. Why I am not able to do that? Should be a healthy competition, not a wrong one. And also Chaitanya Charitamrita says here, Prabhupada explains about the weeds. You can see the kusha grass like big columns, and it will dry up all the thing in the paddy field. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, right, we should take care of the unwanted grass in the paddy field. Otherwise, what will happen? All these unwanted grass will take up the fertilizer and the paddy field will dry up, right? Similarly, all the weeds of devotional service will destroy our devotional things. So what are the weeds of devotional services? The unwanted plants in devotional service? The sixth thing.
Material attachment.
Anarthas, Mataji.
Kutinati.
Anarthas.
Then
Mana Puja Pratishtha.
Mana Puja Pratishtha. Very good. Then two more. Kutinati or duplicity. Mana Puja Pratishtha. Then
Violence.
what? What? Kutinati, Mana Puja Pratishtha. What else?
Violence, Mataji.
What?
Associated with non-devotees?
No.
No,
What, Mataji?
violence.
I didn't get you. What did you say? Powerless.
Violence, Mataji.
No.
Kutinati Pratishtha, Kutinati, Mana Puja Pratishtha.
Kutinati, Mana Puja Pratishtha. Then
Ahimsa.
Nishidaja, Jiva Himsa, all these are the unwanted grass. So Mahaprabhu says you have to take care of the unwanted grass in the paddy field, otherwise the paddy field will dry up. So Bhaktilata beach, when it grows, so you can refer to Madhya Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita, 19th chapter, 159 sloka says, Nishitajar Kutinati Jiva Himsana Labha Puja Apradishtadi Yada Upasakta Jagana. So you can see some unnecessary creepers growing with the Bhakti creeper. What are they? Diplomatic behavior, that is called Kutinati. Animal killing, Jiva Himsa, mundane profiteering, Mana Puja Pratishtha, adoration and importance. All these are unwanted creepers. We should take off it, pull these. Okay, Nishidha Ajar, Kutinati, Jiva Himsa, Mana Puja Pratishtha. So these are the 6 weeds of. You should know this. So many times we have said this. We should all know this. Why? So that we check ourselves whether I'm having a diplomatic behavior. Am I killing animals, or when am I hurting others, or do I have a want to be famous, or adoration and giving importance to others should give importance. So these are all the different weeds we should take care. So that's what you can see. Read the purport. So much Prabhupada have explained about Jiva Himsa and Kutinati and everything. So it's a big purport you can have. So the Bhaktilada beach, that's unwanted creepers will grow for the Bhakti creepers, and we should be very alert. Prabhupada says very alert to distinguish them and keep them separately. Okay, so these are the things which destroy our bhakti, or these are the weeds. So in the sloka also, Mahaprabhu says the unwanted grass in the paddy field will take away all the fertilizers, and so the paddy field will dry up. So similarly, the material desires for sense enjoyment, which causes our fall down, and we suffer the 3 more miseries. And then we take rebirth again and again. So we cannot kill desires. We have to purify them. We should constantly think about the Lord, right? What will happen if of a soldier who thinks about his nation and dies? So is that good? He's fighting for the country. Okay, yes, he's a Jawan and he does that, and we are proud of him that he fights against terrorists and saves our country. But he's thinking about his country. Then what will happen to him?
He will take rebirth.
He'll take rebirth in the same country?
Yes.
May or may not be. Prabhupada says may or may not be. You can't say, because when you're dying, you're thinking about the terrorists, you're thinking about protecting your country. That's true. But you're also thinking about your opposite country. So Prabhupada's like, sometimes we might take rebirth in that opposite country. This Janma, you feel that particular country is my enemy. I am belong to this country and that country, you differentiate and all that. And you say, you become army person, or you're a terrorist thinking about how to destroy another country. Then Prabhupada's like, may or may not, you might be reborn in the same country. You might be reborn in the opposite country also. And that too, you won't get a human form of life because you wasted your human form thinking about that country. You might become an animal or a dog in that country. So what is the use? Now, what is the use? So yes, we salute the military people. Because of them, we are peacefully living here. But then we have seen even so many YouTube viral videos. We see even the army generals in the military people also chanting Hare Krishna. In that way, like Arjuna, how he fought as a Kshatriya, the army person also fighting to protect the citizens, thinking that they are all Krishna's servants. Because of them, we are peacefully doing devotional service here. We should salute them, we should honor them. But their consciousness should be that I am doing this for Krishna. I am doing it to protect the devotees. Now, if that is the consciousness instead of thinking the nation, then that means we should divert or purify our attachment or desires. Then Prabhupada's like, if we apply the same desire to the service of the Lord, it becomes purified. Then we become immediately freed from material contamination. We go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any questions? Or you can add to anything. Hare Krishna. I keep references sometimes. I keep giving references because you should not feel that I'm talking somewhere from air. No, I want to give Shastric evidences so that you know. And when you read the purpose, one of the Matajis was saying that she reads one chapter every day, morning and evening sometimes, and then every day one chapter of Bhagavatam. Great. That's a great thing to do. One chapter means some days, there's like some chapters have 70 plus and 80 plus slokas. And you're doing one chapter every day reading, that's a great reading. But she skips the purport. What's the use of reading Prabhupada's books if you're skipping purports? There's no use. I feel there's no use. Just reading the translation, will you be able to understand this much? Just read this. Will you be able to understand what is this big straw of grass and what is this continuously thing? You read the purpose. This is the Bhakti Vedanta purpose. This is what our treasure is. This is devotional ecstasy of Prabhupada. You don't read the purpose. Again and again you read the purpose. Then only will you be able to understand. Are we becoming greater than Prabhupada? Prabhupada wrote these purports for us. If you don't read this, if you skip these purports, what's the use of reading? There's no use, I feel. So please read the purpose. I might be hard, but then yes, this is the fact. You have to read the purpose. Don't just go through superficial translations. Okay, I know some of you are going for initiation and Namanishra Prabhu have recommended that just read the translation and finish the first canto. That is just to meet the criteria. Now, once you finish that, only the translation and met the criteria, you finished first canto, go back and start reading the purpose. Start reading the purpose. Unless you read the purpose, you won't be able to understand anything. Okay? Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining. Vancha kalpatarubhasya kripa sindhu devacha patitanam pavani vaishnavi namana anand kodi vaishnavi ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Today, 8 o'clock, we have a special class by Atul Krishna Prabhu on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Ramakeli. Please do attend at 8 o'clock. Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Keep chanting.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you,
Krishna
Mataji.
Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
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 Thank you, Mataji.